Welcome. It's 10:30. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 40th meeting of the Cascade Food Commission. I hope everyone had a great summer break. We have a full agenda today, and hopefully everyone received the amended agenda that went out on Monday. With that, first on the agenda is to approve the order of content of the overall agenda. This is an action item, so is there a motion to approve?
George, I move to approve.
For a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying yea.
Aye.
Hey.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion passed. Next on the agenda are the meeting minutes from May 11th. Hopefully you all have time, a quick minute to take a look at these. This is another action item. So is there a motion to approve the minutes? Do I have a motion?
George, I'll move to approve.
Thanks, Deb. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying yea.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion passed. Next on this agenda are commissioners' introduction. Well, we take a few minutes for everyone to introduce themselves. Commissioner members, would you take a few minutes to introduce yourselves first? Go ahead.
I'm Anna. I'm an at-large member.
I'm Deb White. I'm from Moorhead City Council.
I'm Mandy George, West Fargo City Commission.
I'm Joan Copperwood at large.
Jeremiah Utek at large.
Jeff York at large.
Jeffrey Miller at large.
Hello, I'm Noelle Harden with Extension on the steering committee. And I just want to note I have a guest joining today, Susie West, who is a new Extension educator. So welcome, Susie, and hello to everyone.
Good morning. I'm Rita Asadis, Cass County and Extension, and I have two guests joining us. We have Don Kinsler, horticulture from Cass County, and Jill Sockness. And Jill is our new urban agent who's emphasizing in leadership and civic engagement.
Good morning, Michelle Draxton. I'm with Fargo Cass Public Health and also on the steering committee.
Good morning. I'm Janice Tweet. I'm with the Great Plains Food Bank and also on the steering committee.
Good morning. I'm Erica Frank with Clay County Planning and Zoning. I'm also on the steering committee.
Good morning. This is Dwayne Breitling. I'm a county commissioner for Cass County, and I'm simply a board member.
I'm Adam Altenberg. I'm on the steering committee and I'm with the Fargo Moorhead Metropolitan Council of Governments.
I'm Jim Osmus, Delaware City Council.
I'm Rory Veal, Clay County Public Health, and I too am on the steering committee.
Is there anybody that we missed?
Okay. Now, steering committee members, would you introduce yourselves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Three.
Okay, and finally, is there anybody else in the meeting that would introduce themselves? Okay.
I don't really know how.
Okay.
I'm with Growing Together and I'm here because Deb Haugen asked me to come. My name's Anita Hofsummer, but I don't see Deb in the meeting.
Thanks, Anita.
Okay, next on our agenda is item 3, at-large commissioner spotlight. And Anna Johnson, who is nutrition manager with the Lakes and Prairie Community Action Partnership. We'll take a few minutes to talk about her works. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. As we just mentioned, I am the nutrition manager with the Head Start program at CAPLP, and I'm also a registered dietitian. So for those of you who might not be familiar, CAPLP is a community action agency, and we have various programs that are aimed at eliminating poverty in the community with our work with families and individuals. And our Head Start program serves pregnant moms through age 5. And the purpose of the Head Start program is to work with the family on preparing their children for school and kindergarten. We provide comprehensive services, including support with health, nutrition, education, parent engagement. And that includes things like supporting families and getting their children to doctor's appointments, or providing referrals for services such as like food pantries, or helping them apply for programs like WIC. So I have heard of our Head Start program referred to as a referral program. So we might not directly have the services, but we try to help the families get access to those services that they need. As the nutrition manager, I manage our daily food service operation that feeds about 160 center-based children, and provide nutrition education to our families and children that are in the program. I also track growth assessments and BMIs of each child that is over the age of 2. And I work to educate our staff to help them support our families on nutrition and food security. With my role and experience, I feel that I have sort of a unique view of our local food system because I get it from a few different angles. As a consumer, I really enjoy the local food system, such as the abundance of restaurants, the access to local foods, farmers markets, and we have many grocery stores that are within driving distance. And as someone who works in the food service management field, I have faced the recent frustrations of some of the staffing challenges of that part of our food system, and also the food shortages that we are still facing due to the pandemic. And then I also have a viewpoint as someone who works with low-income individuals. And I see the struggles that many of our community members face. And I also want to add that we live in a community that has amazing supports for those individuals and families. And I had a great pleasure of working with a lot of our local food pantries and feeding sites while I worked at the Great Plains Food Bank. And I know that those supports exist and they all are doing a fantastic job. We also have, for the low-income people, have access to a variety of supportive services. And now some of our food pantries are even taking steps to eliminate some barriers that the low-income individuals face. I don't know, there's a few pantries in our area that have now started delivering food through a program with United Way. There are still many gaps and barriers in our local food system for these individuals. And then another viewpoint I get as a registered dietitian. And I have seen impacts at various levels within the food system that individualized nutrition education can provide. Nutrition is a very unique field in that everyone is an expert of their own body and their own nutrition. There is science-based information that will guide people towards better health. And often that is not the information that is broadcasted most widely. And I have seen firsthand that that can be really harmful for the people who may need that information most. I just have one small example to share. I have been in this role for about 1.5 years, and last year I worked with a family who was interested in increasing the fruits and vegetable intake. Our local food system has lots of opportunities for them to get fruits and vegetables, but when I was talking to them, I realized that they didn't have much time or capacity for prepping a lot of items. So I suggested adding some canned or frozen fruits or vegetables. They were shocked that canned and frozen fruits and vegetables provide really similar nutritional benefits because of some of the messages that they have heard, like fresh is best or shopping the perimeter of the grocery store. So instead of eating any fruits and vegetables, they were just not including them in their diet because they didn't have the capacity for those fresh vegetables at that time. As I previously mentioned, I also track the growth assessments for children. And Michelle Exton, she shared an article with me that was published in Pediatrics, and I just wanted to touch a little bit on that quickly. It tracks 2 cohorts of children aged from kindergarten through 5th grade. And one was in the 90s and another was in the 2000s. And the cohorts were 12 years apart. And it tracked the BMI levels of these children. And it showed that children in the 2000s cohort were experiencing obesity at a higher incidence. And it was also affecting people disproportionately. So the non-Black Hispanic children were 29% more likely to develop new onset obesity by 5th grade. And there was also an increase of 15% for children from the least disadvantaged households. And within our Head Start program last year, 18% of our center-based children, so that's ages 3 to 5, were experiencing obesity. So all of this to say that one of the things I have learned in this Head Start role is that all of our local food system consumers could really benefit from access to reliable and accurate information when it comes to nutrition. And the earlier and more consistently and in low barrier settings that we can provide that education, I think would have a really great impact on our local food system moving forward. And that is all I have. Anybody have questions?
Any questions for that?
Thanks, Anna. I appreciate you touching on that new the new obesity study because it's timely and it hasn't that sort of research hasn't been published for a while, and so it's nice to get the up-to-date data and information. And while it might be hard to hear, I think it's important that we all know and understand that obesity in children continues to be high, and that prevention is really key. So I appreciate you pointing that out.
Any other questions, Fran? Thank you, Anna. Next on agenda is item 4, Hunger Action Month update. September is Hunger Action Month in North Dakota, and Janice Tweet is going to talk about ways the Great Plains Food Bank is working to address hunger in our area. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, September is Hunger Action Month. For those of you who don't know or aren't aware, haven't heard yet, I just have a few things I want to share that the food bank does to promote a Hunger Action Month and how people can support that as well. The first thing we always encourage is orange is the color of hunger awareness. So we always say wear orange in the month of September. We also every year publish a daily calendar of different ideas for how you can alleviate hunger. As an example, today's action for Hunger Action Month is to add halal food items to your food drive this week to help with those who have dietary restrictions due to religious beliefs. We also this month are hosting a virtual food drive alongside Corwin Automotive and Valley News Live. And Corwin Automotive will be matching the first $50,000 in donations. So for those who are able to support financially, we do have that ability to take those extra dollars and potentially double your impact. We also encourage you to follow our social media. We post every day about the different actions on our calendar, post different ways to share the message of hunger and get more involved. And I'd also encourage following Feeding America, as they also have different things that they're sharing in regards to Hunger Action Month. And I'm going to put into the chat our link to our website. We are You can find the calendar there if you're interested in downloading that to be able to participate in some of those action items. There's also a link to the food drive and then also some different options for things that you might be interested in volunteering or getting more involved with overall outside of the month of September.
Any questions for Janice?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you so much, Janice, for the information and your work. Looking ahead to next month, would you like to say anything about the Health and Hunger Summit?
Absolutely. So the Cass Clay Hunger Coalition every year hosts an annual Hunger and Health Summit. This year will be the 5th annual one, and we're very excited to be going back in person for the first time. We've been virtual for the last couple of years, so we're bringing it back in person. Registration is now open, and our theme for the day is mobilizing to create a healthy community. It's a mostly day-long session, starts about 8:30 in the morning. We'll wrap up around 3:30, and it cost is $30 for people who are not affiliated with the Cass Clay Hunger Coalition, or $25 for those who are coalition members. I didn't have that link ready to go, but if you give me a second, Noelle, I'll pull up that link for registration and happy to answer any questions about the summit as well while I find that link.
Janice, what did you say was the date on that?
Great question. I did not say. It is Thursday, October 20th, and we'll be at Blue Stem Event Center in South Moorhead.
Janice, Joan Copperwood, thank you for your information on Hunger Action Month. I'm wearing my Emeriti faculty at Concordia hat. I'm wondering about outreach because I think we have a number of students, as would MSUM, NDSU, that many students want to get involved and they want to support these efforts and may not be following the Great Plains Food Bank on social media and so on. So I'm just wondering, what are you doing for outreach about some of the opportunities throughout the month? That again, I can think of students that would be interested in, putting something toward the food bank and just participating as they can throughout the month. So I'm just wondering about outreach. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. So I know there's been some information dropped off at some of the schools. Can't speak to which ones. I know MSUM for sure. We also partner with all of the schools with their food pantries. The 3 do have pantries on site. So I believe that they have access to the information through the pantry as well. I know that outside of Hunger Action Month too, we do try to get to the schools. For example, we were at NDSU's Welcome Week activities. I don't know exactly what they call it, but we did have a booth there to share more information from that point. And then we just try to get out in the community when we can. If people ever hear of opportunities, we're always happy to try to get to them if they're brought to our attention. But yeah, trying to get more out there so that people can find us, either 1, to know that we're a great place to volunteer, or 2, so that they know where to access resources if they're in need as well.
Great, thank you.
I'll just chime in, and since you mentioned it, this Saturday, it may be a little late to sign up for a booth, but perhaps not. Bridge Bash is happening in Moorhead, and it's at 1 o'clock at Viking Ship Park, and that is an event for college students throughout the region. It's a chance to welcome them back, but there's going to be booths and music and all different things. But MBA is hosting it, and so Sherry Larson would be the person to contact. But maybe if you were interested in seeing about getting usually things like that for a nonprofit, they wouldn't charge. And so if you had someone available that could table, that might be a great place to get students from all of the campuses.
Great, thanks, Deb. We will look into that, and especially for next year if it is too late for this year. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Any other questions for Janice? Thank you, Janice.
This is Rita. I just have a comment. Janice, you might be aware of this, or you might not, but Extension has been working for the last 2 years but they have finally have a little free food pantry on NDSU campus. I understand it was just built and installed like this week. So We might have more information coming up on that, but it's supposed to be accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's the same concept as the Little Free libraries, but it's for non-perishable foods, and it's on NDSU campus, somewhere by the union. That's all I know. One of my coworkers is working on that.
Great. Thanks, Rita.
Next is item 5, Cass Clay Food Commission updates. Noel has a few things the steering committee would like to discuss.
Thank you, Chair Osnes. So speaking of the Health and Hunger Summit on October 20th that Janice shared about, we are really excited for the first time to, we submitted a proposal to have a panel featuring the Cass Clay Food Commission, and it was accepted, hooray. And now we need panelists. So it'll be a 45-minute session, hopefully in the afternoon. We're hoping for 3 either current or past commissioners from the Food Commission to be featured on the panel. The goals are to educate people who attend about our work together as the Food Commission, how it ties into health and hunger, and then to engage attendees in a discussion about local food policy. So Michelle and I will moderate the panel. We will prepare questions that we'll send to you in advance. So I'm hoping it'll be not too big of a lift. Thank you, Commissioner Preston, who has agreed to be on the panel. And I would like to open it up and see if anyone else would be willing to be a part of this.
Noelle, I would probably put myself towards the end of the list because there's people that know more than me, but if you are looking for people and you don't fill it, I'd be happy to.
Thank you, Deb. Appreciate it. Would anyone else maybe tentatively want to put their name in, or does anybody have questions about it?
Any other questions for Rob?
All right, well, if you do, or if you think about it a little more and might be interested, please let me know, because we'd like to confirm who will be a part of that as soon as possible. Okay, so then the next item that we'd like to discuss is the steering committee has been kind of kicking around the idea of amending our food commission meeting schedule. So we'd like to just kind of bring that idea forward, maybe have some discussion, and then we could bring it back in November for an official vote. But we've been thinking, so currently we meet 5 times a year. It's bi-monthly, except we skip July. So we have that 4-month break for the summer. And as we've been progressing in our work and getting into sort of a different phase that we're at right now, we've been going about 6 years now, and have done a lot of research and education to this point. And now we're kind of shifting into sort of an implementation phase and working a little more intentionally with the jurisdictions. So we're finding that it could be helpful for the steering committee to have a little more time between meetings and to go to a quarterly meeting schedule versus 5 times a year. And there are absolutely pros and cons of that. But that would give us sort of more time to do some of that engagement work in between the meetings. We've also talked a lot about, you know, do we want to add some to the steering committee work to create more opportunities to engage directly with the public. So maybe going to quarterly food commission meetings, but then adding 1 or 2 community listening sessions, or even like office hours where their steering committee could be available to answer questions or, work directly with people who are interested from the jurisdictions. So that's kind of what we've been discussing. And so we'd like to get your feedback on, making that schedule change. And then if there's anything else you want to share about our current meeting schedule, other suggestions that you want to make around changing that, this would be a great time to hear those. So what are your thoughts? Yeah, Jeremiah.
If we move to a quarterly meeting schedule, of which I'm not opposed, would it be possible to get, as a commission member, I want to be able to help make decisions. And with one fewer meeting, I would kind of like some of the information just a little earlier so I can really think about it before the meeting. And if we could do that, I'd be very, very supportive of this. So that's just my, especially in bigger things, if we could get a packet beforehand, 2 weeks beforehand, especially if it's something a little more complex, that'd be great.
Thank you. That is really great feedback. I appreciate that. And Deb, I see your hand is up.
Well, I really like the idea of the community listening sessions. So no matter what, I think we definitely should do that, of have some events where we bring people in and, share with them information and get ideas about what they'd like to see. I could go either way. My only concern is that if we go with fewer meetings, those of us that aren't on the steering committee, I can tell you, and I'm sure I can speak for other council members and commissioners, then we've got other committee assignments, and then stuff if we're not doing things for a while, it kind of drops off our radar. And maybe if there was other ways that you were connecting with us in the interim, that might be fine, but I want to stay engaged. And so that would be my only concern, is that we would be some of us would be less engaged than we are now. And I would actually see a higher level of engagement. So yeah, I'm one of those people that I don't know how other people are. I have the meetings keep me on track. Okay, we've got to get things done before this. And so that's all.
Thank you. I appreciate that comment as well. Anything else around our meeting schedule, or how you would like to be more engaged with the steering committee as we're kind of pondering this at our next meeting?
This is Commissioner George. I guess I would tend to agree with Deb on this one. Being a commissioner, you're in a lot of different boards and you have a lot of things going on. And the less meetings we have, the less engagement you have and the less you think about this. And for me, I use this as a lot of listening and learning and trying to keep my eyes open for what's happening in the community. And yeah, so I just feel like less meetings wouldn't keep it in the forefront of our minds. So.
This isn't directly speaking to the question about the schedule as much as indirectly that I know there've been conversations whether we should remain on Zoom or in person. And if we go with fewer meetings, I would suggest that interacting then would be even more important in person. So if we only have 4 a year, and then we could use Zoom or other opportunities, and perhaps for electronic, because there's kind of a synergy that occurs when you're in person that you don't always get with Zoom. So I think that if we go with a fewer meetings, it might be helpful if we interact more in person when possible. Of course, if we have a surge in COVID, we've got the Zoom as the backup, but that would be, I guess, my thought. Thank you.
Anyone else want to weigh in? All right, well, thank you so much for the input, and we'll be discussing this. Steering committee meets next week, so we will discuss this and then look for that on the agenda next time we meet. Thanks.
Thank you, Noel. Next on our agenda is item 6, Castaway Food Partners video project. Michelle is going to talk about several short videos Fargo, Cass, Public Health, and the City of Fargo are working to put together. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chair. Well, we are excited as a steering committee to share that we have been able to collaborate with the City of Fargo Communications Department to be able to create 5 short videos that highlight the work of the Cass Clay Food Partners. And so as a steering committee, we talked about, the work that has been done and information that we would really want to share to the community and beyond about the food partners. And so the 5 videos are going to be on the following topics. So what is a Cass Clay Food Partners and what is a food system? Healthy eating in our community and the importance of local foods, including farmers markets, pollinators, the backyard chicken ordinance, and gleaning. And the videos are going to be about 2 minutes in length. We want them to be catchy, but also have enough information to where people are engaged, but they aren't too long. As of this morning, we have filmed 3 of those videos, with one scheduled to be filmed next week, which is really exciting. And so we were really hoping to have a snippet of one of those videos today, but it isn't quite ready. So I'm hoping for either the Hunger and Health Summit in October or at our upcoming meeting in November that we'll be able to share one of those. We really hope to be able to disseminate them widely and really, rely on everybody on the commission to help share those out. They will be on the City of Fargo's website, the Cass Clay Food Partners website. We hope to share them on social media and so on. And so just want to put the bug in your ear that those are going to be coming up, and any creative ways that you can think to help promote those and highlight those would be great. And we have had some great participation from steering committee members and commission members and at-large members and participating in those videos as well. So something different, something exciting, and can't wait to share those with you all.
Any questions for Sean? Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda is our number 7, food tank opportunities. Joan will take a few minutes to talk about that.
Okay, great. Thank you. I was thinking about the name alone, food tank, and you probably figured out it's kind of a think tank, but it's related to food. Some of you may be familiar with food tank, but if not, I just think it's a great resource that I wanted to tell you a little bit about today. I'm going to screen share here their website. Hopefully you can see that. Does that work for you? As I said, as the name suggests, it's about thinking about all aspects of the complex global food system. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization that's devoted to creating a network of connections and information, current and reliable information related to the challenges of our very complex global food system. As again, I think this group is so familiar with many of those challenges. So if you're not familiar with Food Tank, I'm just hoping you'll check this out. It connects all aspects of the food system, farmers, producers, policymakers, government leaders, researchers, academics. Here's some of the working groups. Concordia is represented in the academic working group, and there's a government policy group. There is, I think the refresh one has to do with a lot of the corporations that are connected to the food system. So if you take time and go to many of these links, and I decided I'm not going to click around for you, but just wanted to kind of show you the landing page and a couple of things, you will see the complexity of the whole food tank operation. And I think it's about maybe 10 or 12 years old that it's been around, and it connects ordinary citizens. So not just, you know, all the groups that I mentioned. Their website, it's a very thorough website. And again, I'm going to just scroll down, and it lists current and very, I think, interesting articles, podcasts, that you might be interested in. For example, there was one recently posted that I was going to show you that's of interest right now to me. Where's the one on? There's one on, when we talk about college campuses, we're forgetting food insecurity. So some of these articles are generated by food tank members. Sometimes they're reposts from other, but as you can see, some are global, some are local. Here's a one on this might interest the next presenters, Anita and Deb, on Growing Together, but on youth and with the urban gardening. There's I think something for everybody on food insecurity. They hold summits around the country. If you go to, you'll see some of the summits that they have had. And they food tank always partners with a college or university. And there was one on the main University of Minnesota campus, and they were on the 2022 schedule, and there's food summits around the country from coast to coast. So that is something else that I think there's one in Des Moines. Did they just have the Des Moines one, or it's coming up? So there's on food waste, every aspect, again, of a very complex food system. So those summits might interest some people on this commission or those others that you know. You can sign up for the free newsletter, which I do. They don't bombard your inbox by any means, but again, I think that they provide timely, accurate, important information on various aspects of the food system. There are memberships. You can paid membership at different levels, and there is a $4.99 a month. There's I think a $14.99 a month, and there's a one-time donation. There's rates for corporations and so on, or retail to join as well. So again, I'm getting more familiar with food tanks, so I probably can't answer a lot of your questions. I know just before the pandemic, NDSU and Concordia were in conversation to have NDSU be a campus to host one of the summits, and one of the Midwestern summits. And they do food tank does works with the institution, but does the financial piece and helps with the planning and everything. So they just need a host campus. So I hope to get food tank back in this area. And then with the pandemic, for a couple of years, they didn't have the summits. Anyway, I want you to think about, it's foodtank.com, but I can put it in the chat for you as well. So I don't know if anybody is already following food tank, but if not, I think, Michelle, were you just nodding? So yeah, so if not, maybe others have something they want to chime in and say, but that's what I would like to introduce you to. So thank you.
Any questions for John? Thank you. Next on our agenda is item 8, Growing Together Community Gardens Update. Deb and Anita will talk about what Growing Together has been in the summer. Go ahead.
You want to start, Deb?
Well, Growing Together is a wonderful community opportunity for people to gather together, work in families or as individuals, and grow food. Our program is free to all who are involved because we have a market garden that Anita heads up that raises food to sell to the community, and then that money in turn pays for all of our plants and equipment to go into Growing Together Gardens. There are, and Anita, correct me, is it 7 Growing Together Gardens that exist right now?
8.
8, okay. It does continue to grow, and it started as a program for where a church group started a garden so that new Americans could come in and garden together, especially when there is no garden space at many apartments. So we have many individuals who garden with us. I'm fortunate to garden with Anita to help raise the food for the market garden, and then also am involved in a family garden that meets, we have a lot of cute little preschoolers as well as high school students who get together and garden with us and learn about growing healthy food. But it's not only an opportunity for you to get food for yourself, but it's an opportunity to be able to raise food that can be donated to our shelters and pantries. And Anita can fill us in on so much more of that.
So the pandemic sort of threw a wrench into the gardening, and many of our new Americans, because they live in multi-generational housing, couldn't come to the garden during 2020, and 2021 was more of a rebuilding. It used to be that 75% of the people who volunteered in the gardens were new Americans. Now it's more like 75% or not. And so we're still working on that, because it is a way for new Americans to become a part of our community in a non-threatening and useful way. They get to grow their own produce. They get to take it all home. Some of the things that we've done, last year we had about 30,000 pounds, a little over 30,000 pounds of vegetables grown, and we probably had an average of 64 people a week that gardened with us. This year we're back up to our pre-pandemic, between 140 and 150 volunteers that come to the various gardens and work at them, and we're already at 25,500, and the squash coming in will make that probably go closer to 40,000 pounds of produce for this year. Of the produce that we gather, we encourage each of our share gardens to give back to the community and to share with their favorite charity. Many of them do. I don't have a record of it because we just started recording it, and I don't think they know where to find the recording information. But the market garden, which is the one I'm in charge of, we've already donated about 1,500 pounds to, I believe it was 3 different organizations. We have volunteers that work with us in the garden who volunteer to also take the donated produce. Every week you get a share at the end of the garden working. And if you have things in your share that you won't use, then you put them in a donate bucket. And so that donate bucket gets taken to whoever is volunteering to take it to, like Dorothy Dayhouse got some this week. We have somebody who drives by that on the way home every time, and so she just drops it off at Dorothy Dayhouse. We also donate quite a bit to the New Life Center. One of our volunteers cooks over there, and so he gathers food from the market to cook at the New Life Center. So we have a few of those situations. Is there any questions about things that you might do, or? I don't really know what information you want to know.
Which farmer markets do you guys sell through?
Our own.
Okay.
We have a market at 3600 25th Street by Gethsemane Church on Tuesdays from 2 to 6. And most of the stuff we practically give away, because our purpose of being involved in the community is to make sure people have access to inexpensive, fresh picked food. So I might sell a 15-pound jumbo pink banana squash for $5, because our maximum squash price, it's $1 a pound unless it weighs 5 pounds, and then anything over 5 pounds is still only $5. So we have quite a few, especially new Americans, who recognize the varieties that we sell and are very anxious to buy the things you can't find in the grocery store, like jumbo pink banana or Jardale squash. And they'll come and say, really, this is only $5. But our purpose of being in, I mean, we're not there to make money. We make enough money to keep going, but we do sell things at a fairly discounted price. Our peppers this year are huge, and we're selling them 3 for $1 because we have too many plants thanks to my overabundant pepper plants. We have over 800 bell pepper plants in one garden. I got a little exuberant this year on that.
So just a follow-up question, because something jumped out at me. Do we have a list or a resource for food that grows really well here that is desirable to the new Americans and the immigrants?
Well,
because I'm heavily involved in a couple farmers markets, and you tend to see a lot of the same stuff. And so a lot of farmers I know want to diversify because, you know, it's fun to grow new things. So I'm curious if there's a resource like that that exists.
Well, I know we have the knowledge amongst our gardeners of the things that will grow, and we've got some people who've developed like the African eggplant, for example, that we've never heard of before. One of our gardeners bought them at an Asian market and saved the seeds and is now growing them in his garden, and he sells them at the market. Well, we started helping him figure that out at Growing Together, and now he's branched off to his own farm. There are a few things like that, but there are also some things that no matter how hard we try, you can't really grow okra. It will grow. If you pick it every other day, it just takes forever for the plant to mature. And by the time it's really starting to produce, it's October. So
I deal with hot chili peppers, so I know all about that.
But we do experiment with that, and we have expanded our squash varieties, for example, because the new Americans like the really big ones. They like the ones that have stronger flavor. And so we have grown more of those. And you can't really get Jardale. Well, you might be able to get it at the grocery store now because we've been growing it for several years and it becomes interesting to the grocery people. But you can't buy jumbo pink banana unless you come to our market. And they really are like 13 to 15 to 25 pounds a piece.
And while people cannot join our garden this year to be able to get a share, we would encourage people to contact jackstomatoes@gmail.com if they're interested in being involved in the future.
I'm a share owner at Anita at that garden at the one by Gethsemane, and it's really something else. But I just think I want to follow up on Jeremiah's his question. I think that again would be a great research project, and I know again in higher education or a variety of other places, or maybe that would be a perfect research project for somebody to undertake, is to interview and find out from new Americans and offer that, because I agree that we would have a better idea on, yeah, we can't grow everything in this climate, of course, but especially if you're saying that many farmers, because you do see a lot of the same wonderful produce, but to diversify a little bit to help meet the growing needs of our more diverse community. So I think it's a great project. So those of you who have connections with fellow researchers, that would be something to follow up on. Thank you.
I put my hand up because I thought also, even just doing, if we were looking at community listening sessions that, have ones that are targeted towards specific groups within our community. So if we had one that is at a location where we could, where new Americans would be likely to be there. So even say, for instance, in Moorhead, coordinate with AADA, the Afro-American Development Association, and go to their building and have a place where people are, could come and chat with us about things like that, where we could also share information, where they might say, here's something that we wish we could grow. And maybe it's not something we can grow in our climate, but we might be able to make suggestions for things that are similar. So it could be educational on both sides.
Great. That'd be great. Thank you. Mhm.
I've got relationships with a number of chefs, and they're always looking for new things, and they're always looking for ways to develop and fold in new cultures, foods. And so I love the idea of foods that we're not accustomed to up here showing up on menus that would be very welcoming to people who are new to our community. And, you know, everybody loves good food. Sometimes it just takes a little courage to try it, but like, so anyways, that's where I'm coming at it from a slightly different angle, but like, I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
It would be nice if someone would keep track of that. I think that would be the biggest thing. We've actually done quite a lot of experiencing and exploring with the variety of various vegetables that our new Americans like. Snake gourds, for example, they smell awful, but our Bhutanese friends and our African friends love snake gourds. And we've grown those, and we've grown, we've grown the okra, but it's too much work for me to do it because I end up having to go back over there every other day to pick it. And then it doesn't produce enough to make it worth my while to even do that. But there is a number of different things that we've grown and experimented with that if somebody was going to research it, I would give them that list.
I also want to add the Great Plains Food Bank. Again, this is the perspective of neighbors in need, but we have been doing focus groups with New American communities here in the Fargo-Moorhead area to learn about their food needs. We're in the process of putting that report together right now. I think I mentioned it at a previous meeting too, but we'd be happy to share the results once we have that together. And then we are also doing some cultural food pop-ups that have come out of that and a partnership with the city of Fargo. So that'd also be something for a future meeting that we'd be happy to share more about.
And something else with growing together is the pandemic affected it having our potlucks, but we typically will have potlucks. And for instance, this evening there is one in which they've asked Nigerian and Afghan foods, two people to bring something that would represent those cultures. And then there is something that explains what's going on with those cultures. And so it's a sense of bringing together community and eating together, not just working together.
Any other questions? For Deb, Anita? Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda is item number 9, Veggies for the Pantry. Don from Cass County Extension is here to talk about the program. So Don, go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Don Kinsler, the horticulture agent for NDSU Cass County Extension, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. And our NDSU Extension office in Cass County coordinates a little over 100 master gardeners who in turn donate about 20 hours of volunteer service into our communities. And 6 or 7 years ago, a group of master gardeners were talking together, and they indicated a common problem for most home gardeners, and that is that we tend to produce more in our garden than we can eat and give away to friends and relatives. So, and of course, we always hate to see that produce going to waste. So the master gardeners were thinking, wouldn't it be great if there would be a way to get this fresh produce, fruits, vegetables, to people in need? And of course, many of us are well intended that we would haul it to a food pantry where it could be used. But the master gardeners thought, what if we collectively got home gardeners to donate this, and then we could take it as a group to the food pantries? So a very neat program called Veggies for the Pantry was developed. And that program has run now for 6 or 7 years. And what this is our master gardeners staff, and this year it's 11 locations around the Fargo-Moorhead metro area. And on Monday evenings, and of course we promote this, publicize it. So on Monday evenings from 6:30 until 7:30, home gardeners can come to their nearest drop-off location, drop off their excess tomatoes, cucumbers, apples, whatever they've got, squash, potatoes, and then the master gardeners then take it collectively to one of the food banks in the area. And this has worked out really, really well. Some of the sites, for example, are Longfellow School, the Bowler, Community Presbyterian Church, Holy Cross. We've got a site in Horace. There's a site up in Harwood at Cheyenne Gardens, South Moorhead. And then also several of the farmers markets at the end of their day, what they don't sell and they'd like to donate, they bring to the Veggies for the Pantry. And behind me on the screen is the collection site at the Bowler. So people will drive up and they see the Donate Garden Produce banner, and there's a trunk full of vegetables right there. And so then it's a very convenient way for us home gardeners to get this to people in need without each of us actually going to the pantry. And for example, this year to date, and of course there's still produce coming in each Monday night, the master gardeners have collected and donated over 9,000 pounds of produce. And that translates into about 36,000 individual servings for those in need. So it's been a really neat ongoing program. And of course, we'll get donations of squash, potatoes, and things that are yet to be harvested. So really, this has been an exciting and very impactful program for our NDSU Cass County Master Gardeners. Any questions that I could entertain? And if not, again, it's every Monday evening. They'll do this until the first frost. So every Monday evening from 6:30 to 7:30. And again, it's Longfellow School, Bowler Presbyterian Church, or the Community Presbyterian Church, Holy Cross in West Fargo, Horace right by the water tower, Trinity Lutheran Church, Moorhead, Cheyenne Gardens in Harwood, and also up at NDSU. So thank you again for the time. Thanks.
Let me just ask again, is there a place, sorry to slip this in, online where we can find all of that too? Because I'm slow at writing everything out, so.
I believe if you do a search of Veggies for the Pantry and maybe add Cass County, I believe you can find the locations.
Great,
And
thanks.
if not, I could share them also on the site here.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I just want to add, as my past work with food pantries, I expect that the consistency and knowing what to expect and kind of an amount to expect would be greatly appreciated by them. So I think this is a really great program. Thank you for coordinating it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Next on our
I
agenda
put a link in the chat for everybody.
Okay. Next on our agenda is our item number 10, Minnesota Department of Agricultural Public Input Opportunities. The MDA is currently putting together this biannual budget, and Adam will talk about how people can share their input on this.
All right. Thank you, Chair. As noted, the Minnesota Department of Agriculture is currently gathering ideas for the state's next biannual budget and has put out a call for input from farmers, food businesses, and others that are impacted by food and agricultural systems. These ideas can be anything related to policies, funding, and program suggestions that would be a benefit to individuals and communities throughout the state. There were 2 virtual public input sessions that were held last week on September 7th and September 8th, but there's still one more day to submit comments directly to the Department of Agriculture on ideas on how the Minnesota legislature might appropriate funds for agricultural activities. And I'm going to throw a link to that in the comments here. So this is a link to the comment form for the MDA, and then I'm also going to throw in another link here. This is just a link to the MDA agency website. And that's all I had to share with that. Thanks.
Any questions for Adam? I got it. Next on our agenda is item number 11, Kudos and Community Support Recognition. Well, I shall have a few people and organizations that I would like to highlight for their work in the community. Go ahead.
Thank you. So as a reminder, we've added this standing item to all of our meetings to just give shout outs and recognize great work that's happening in our local food community. So if you have people or organizations you think we should recognize in the future, definitely let us know, and I can share my email address in just a moment. And I do have a few slides for today. Let's see if I can get this in the presentation mode. All right, hopefully you see my slides. Someone stop me if you don't. But we thought it would be great to recognize youth in agriculture. Knowing, we had wonderful county fairs, both in Clay County and Cass County this year. And we just want to give a shout out for all of those youth involved in those fairs or otherwise a part of our local food system. So kudos to the kiddos. That's our theme today. And of course, we have to mention 4-H. Obviously, we have Extension well represented on the call today. 4-H being kind of our signature program that's really well known. So I've got a couple pictures from both the Clay County Fair and the Cass County Fair. And I'm wondering if anyone who was involved would like to share anything about the fairs this summer or about 4-H in general. So I'll just pause and just jump in because I can't see people's faces right now.
This is Rita from Cass County Extension. And, we have something very exciting happening in Cass County. Our enrollment in our livestock program is increasing. And we increased by like 30 kids this year in our livestock division. The picture there with our two little 4-Hers, they were just so eager watching the older kids show and waiting for their turn. But I think what's so exciting, and I know we're going to have this on our future meeting, is we have the opportunity in Cass County for urban kids to have livestock, and the Red River Valley Fair will host them and let them live at the fairgrounds and help feed and show them how to care for their livestock and then be able to be part of the 4-H. So I think that's exciting news for our 4-H program in Cass County and in Clay County. You're welcome to join in that as well, be part of our 4-H program and be able to have livestock in the city if you're an urban child. And they're actually looking at rabbits and chickens too, but we know we can have those at home. So looking for some exciting news coming up. I believe in January, we're going to have Cody Cashman speaking to us about that opportunity.
Thank you so much, Rita. That is amazing that our urban youth can have that opportunity as well. So thanks so much for highlighting that. Was there anyone else that wanted to say anything about the fairs or about 4-H? Okay. Well, then we also wanted to acknowledge in Minnesota, we've been adding a lot of kind of specialty license plates that you can get for your vehicle. And some of the proceeds from that, some of the cost of that goes directly to support things like wildlife habitat is one that people tend to know a little bit more about. But you might not know that Minnesota has a new specialty plate that was actually designed by 4-H and FFA, the Future Farmers of America. And so it was designed with both of those groups. You can see the plate here. It has the hands representing 4-H, and then the rising star represents FFA. And some of the money from the cost of this plate actually goes directly to benefit those two programs. So really cool. I don't know if North Dakota has anything similar. So if anyone knows about that, you can jump in. But that's just another great way that the state is supporting youth in agriculture. And with that, I couldn't give a shout out to youth in food and agriculture without acknowledging this amazing child, Tariq. If you weren't on the internet this summer, you might have missed learning about Corn Kid. If that's the case, I really recommend that you take a few minutes to Google Corn Kid and watch his amazing interview about how much he loves corn, and the music video that has since followed that. And with that, is there anything else around youth and agriculture or any other kudos that people want to name at this time? I know we've got an extra few minutes here.
I'll just say, I think too bad Jenny Mojo's not here, because I think they were, you know, the Mojo family was, you know, very well represented for their work with 4-H at both Clay County and at the state too, at the state fair. So Noelle, do you know, do we have something similar in where we can partner with, you know, have kids in Clay County who are like in the city limits that could maybe even partner to learn about, like obviously we can't have chickens yet, but that would be something where if they could learn about that and about raising rabbits and things, that I think that would be really valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Rita mentioned, we'll have, I think, our January meeting. We're planning way ahead for a change for January. And we'll learn more about the urban 4-H program. And I will also check with our local 4-H to see, you know, what we have. I'm not familiar right offhand. So if anyone is, please chime in. But we'll definitely get that on the agenda for a future meeting, and I can circle back with you directly, Deb, if I learn anything in the meantime. So thanks for that question. Anything else from anyone? Well, I will just share my email in the chat, and please, if there are any thoughts you have around kudos and recognition for November, definitely share those with me. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is our public comment opportunities. As a reminder, there's a comment form link that is sent out with the meeting's agenda and packet. As of this morning, no online comments have been received. But is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak at this time? Go ahead.
Hi, I would. My name is Hallie Durand, and I want to say good morning, and it's fun to see some friendly faces out there. Thank you for allowing me to speak at the meeting. I am here to offer a volunteer opportunity. This year at Kesselring Vineyards, our growing season has been really ideal and we have a bumper crop. So therefore, we need additional volunteers to harvest our native wild grapes. The vineyards and winery are located in a really beautiful area with tons of wildlife in the Cheyenne River Valley, just southwest of Kindred. So some of the benefits that the volunteers can see, they would have breakfast bites and lunch beverages at the winery. They will be compensated for the pounds of grapes that they pick, and they're also eligible for additional prizes and drawings throughout the day. Now, as far as the date of the harvest, that's where it gets a little tricky because the grapes reach their ideal sugar levels after the first hard frost. Since we can't really predict when that might be, we kind of have to play it by ear. So once that first hard frost occurs, we have about 2 to 5 days notice where we would notify our volunteers to say, can you make it? They can volunteer for 1 or more than 1 full day. And all the supplies for the harvest picking will be provided. We just ask that everybody dresses appropriately. So I'm just putting the call out there. for anybody who would like to have a very unique, beautiful experience. I can welcome you to consider volunteering for that.
Thank you. Is there anybody else?
Thanks, Hallie. Can I ask, what is the best way to, get more information about this? Know when those volunteer days will be? How exactly does one volunteer with the vineyard?
Sure. You can contact me and I can give you my phone number, or I can send it in an email to you and distribute. So either way, but there's a couple of individuals in our office that you can speak with, myself and Claudia. And then we do have a simple form that you can fill out, and it's mainly just to get your names and addresses so that we can give proper thanks, stay in contact if you want to volunteer next year. So we would have you fill that out and we'll just kind of go from there. And do you want me to provide that number now?
Sure. Do you want to put it in the chat?
Yes, I can certainly do that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Next is item 13, Commissioners and Steering Committee Roundtable. Does anyone have any comments on today's meeting or any community updates to share? Go ahead.
I have something. I know that there is quite the abundance of opportunities right now. But just in case you missed it, the White House is having in 2 weeks from today, they're having a big conference on health, hunger, and food insecurity. It's the first time in like 50 years that they've had a conference on this topic. And it will be live streamed the entire day, and I will include the link for that just in case you're interested in checking that out.
Any other comments? Thank you. Now we move on to commission action steps. Next First Fridays is October 7th. Is scheduled for October 7th at 701 Eateries in Fargo. You can check out Food of the North Facebook page or website for more information on that. Next commission meeting will be November 9th, and our plan is for me to be fruitful. With that, could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Deb White.
Is there a second?
Second, Joan Copperwood.
All in favor, signify by saying yay.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Okay, motion passed. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.